Ever see one of those ads that pops up telling you to update your browser? So imagine clicking on one, thinking you're, doing the right thing, and bam, you've downloaded malware.
Yikes.
That's what's happening with this SecTopRat thing we're diving into today. Starts with like a malicious Google Chrome ad.
Oh, wow.
Kind of ironic, huh?
Yeah, it is pretty ironic. And it's even more concerning because they're using Google sites to host these malicious ads. I mean, most people trust Google, right?
Yeah.
So like seeing a Google site URL just kind of makes people let their guard down. We've seen this before, like in phishing campaigns and stuff, but it highlights how these attackers are always like evolving their methods
Right, right.
to exploit our trust.
So for someone who maybe isn't super familiar with all this, what exactly is malware and what makes this SecTopRat so different?
Malware is basically any software designed to harm your computer or steal your information.
Okay.
It's like a digital burglar sneaking into your system. Now, SecTopRat falls into a category called RATs, which stands for Remote Access Trojans.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Trojan horses before, but what does that have to do with my computer?
Well, remember the story of the Trojan horse from, Greek mythology?
Yeah, vaguely. I remember reading it in elementary school.
Right. So the Greeks built this giant wooden horse, and they presented it as a gift to the Trojans. Little did the Trojans know there were all these Greek soldiers hiding inside. And once the horse was inside the city walls, the soldiers snuck out at night and conquered Troy.
Oh, yeah, okay, I definitely remember that story. So this fake Chrome ad is like the Trojan horse,
Exactly.
and the SecTopRat is the army hiding inside, ready to take over my computer.
Precisely. The fake installer delivers the real Chrome browser, which makes you think everything's fine. But hidden within that download is SecTopRat, ready to wreak havoc.
Gotcha.
And SecTopRat is particularly dangerous because it can do so much more than just, steal your passwords. As always, it can collect all sorts of information about your system, steal data from your browser, even grab your cryptocurrency if you have any,
Oh, wow.
and it can even create hidden desktops on your computer.
Wait, hidden desktops?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Okay, imagine this. A hacker is controlling your computer, browsing the web, accessing your files, all without you ever knowing. They basically have their own separate desktop running in the background, invisible to you.
That's terrifying. It's like someone is literally looking over your shoulder, but in the digital world.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And to make things even trickier, SecTopRat is designed to be incredibly stealthy. It can detect if it's running in a virtual machine, which is a tool cybersecurity professionals use to analyze malware safely. It also uses strong encryption to hide its communication with the hackers. Basically, it's built to avoid detection and stay hidden for as long as possible.
And this thing has been around since like 2019, right?
That's right.
So they've had plenty of time to perfect their sneaky techniques. What's really unsettling is they're reportedly working on even more advanced features for future versions, like screen capture and full screen control.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine a hacker being able to see everything on your screen in real time, even controlling your mouse and keyboard remotely.
Oh, gosh.
They could access your bank accounts, read your private messages, even watch you through your webcam. It's a chilling thought.
Okay, I'm officially freaked out. So how would someone even know if they've been infected? What are the red flags?
Well, one telltale sign could be gaps in your browser history. Okay, imagine scrolling through your browsing history and noticing chunks missing. It's as if someone hit the delete button on parts of your online life. That could be a sign that someone has been using a hidden desktop to browse the web on your computer.
So, if I suddenly can't remember looking up something on Google yesterday, that might.
Might be a bad sign. It's definitely worth investigating further. You might also notice your computer acting strangely, like running slower than usual, crashing more often, or having strange network activity even when you're not actively using the internet.
Okay, so that clicking on these fake Chrome ads is one way to get infected. But are there other ways this SecTopRat spreads?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, there are several ways you could encounter this malware.
Oh, great, there's more.
I think drive-by downloads, where you unknowingly download malware just by visiting a compromised website. There are also malvertising campaigns, where malicious ads are embedded on legitimate websites, and exploit kits, which take advantage of vulnerabilities in your software to deliver the malware.
Oh, wow.
And of course, there's always the classic phishing emails designed to trick you into clicking on malicious links or downloading infected attachments.
Wow. It seems like there are traps everywhere. But in this particular case, the attackers are really banking on that trust we have in Google, aren't they?
Exactly. By using Google sites, they're essentially hiding in plain sight. People see that familiar Google domain name and assume it's safe, which makes them more likely to click on the malicious link. It's a clever tactic that preys on our inherent trust in well-known platforms.
So let's break down the technical side of this a little.
Okay,
What actually happens step by step when someone clicks on that malicious ad?
sure. First, the fake Chrome installer runs a PowerShell command. PowerShell is a powerful tool built into Windows, but in this case, the command is used to tell Windows Defender, which is your built-in antivirus, to ignore a specific folder.
So they're essentially disarming your computer's defenses right from the start.
Precisely. Then the installer downloads an encrypted data stream from the malicious website hosted on Google Sites. This data contains the actual malware payload, cleverly disguised as a file named WaterFox.exe.
Hold on. WaterFox XE. Isn't WaterFox a legitimate web browser?
Yes, it is, but in this case, the name is just a clever disguise to make the malware look less suspicious.
Tricky.
The malware then injects its malicious code into a legitimate Windows process called msbuild.exeg. This process is used for building applications, so it's something that normally runs in the background, making the malware even harder to detect.
So it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, hiding among legitimate processes to avoid detection.
Exactly. And just to add insult to injury, after all this shady business, the fake installer actually downloads and installs the real Google Chrome browser.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah,
So after infecting your computer, they actually give you the browser you wanted in the first place?
I know, right?
That's devious and almost comical.
It is rather ironic. But what's even more concerning is that the installation script used in this attack reveals that these attackers are running similar campaigns using fake installers for other popular software like Notion and Grammarly.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just limited to Chrome. They're targeting a wide range of applications to cast a wider net and potentially ensnare more victims.
This is definitely making me rethink clicking on those update your browser ads.
Yeah,
So what can people do to protect themselves? It seems like these attackers are pretty sophisticated.
you're right. They are getting more sophisticated all the time, but the good news is that there are steps you can take to protect yourself. One of the most important things is to keep your software updated.
Yes, we always recommend that to our listeners.
Updates often include security patches that fix vulnerabilities, which are like weak spots in your software that attackers can exploit.
So are those annoying update reminders actually important?
They really are. Think of it like locking your doors and windows. It might seem like a hassle, but it makes a big difference in preventing unwanted intrusions. And speaking of intrusions, be very cautious about clicking on links or opening attachments from unknown senders. Those could be phishing attempts designed to trick you into giving up your personal information or downloading malware.
Okay, so no more clicking on those "you want $1 million" emails. What else can people do?
Another important step is to be mindful of the websites you visit and the files you download. Stick to reputable websites and be wary of downloading anything from unfamiliar sources. It's like choosing a restaurant you'd rather go to, a place with good reviews and a clean kitchen. right?
Right. And right. And what about antivirus software? Is that still a necessity these days?
Absolutely. Think of antivirus software like a security guard for your computer.
Okay.
It's constantly on the lookout for suspicious activity, scanning files and websites for known threats, and alerting you if something seems amiss.
So even if I'm being careful online, having antivirus software is an extra layer of protection,
Exactly. It's like wearing a seatbelt in a car. You hope you never need it.
right?
But it's there to protect you in case something unexpected happens.
Okay, so far so good. We've got updates, being careful with links and antivirus software. Anything else?
Yes, and this is particularly important for anyone who uses remote access services for work or personal use.
Okay.
If you don't need them, disable them entirely. But if you do need them, make sure they are properly configured with strong passwords and something called multi-factor authentication.
Okay, explain multi-factor authentication for our listeners. What is it and why is it so important?
Imagine it like this. You have a lock on your door, which is your password. But with multi-factor authentication, you add a deadbolt, which is a second layer of security. And the way that people get around that,
Okay.
even if someone gets their hands on your key, they still can't get in without the deadbolt key.
So it's like having two passwords?
In a way, yes. It usually involves receiving a code on your phone or email that you need to enter in addition to your password. This makes it much harder for hackers to access your accounts, even if they manage to steal your password.
Okay, that makes sense. And I've heard that using a reputable VPN or virtual private network can also help protect you online, especially when using public Wi-Fi.
You're absolutely right. A VPN creates a secure tunnel for your internet traffic, making it much harder for hackers to intercept your data or spy on your activity. It's like having a private conversation in a crowded room.
So if I'm working on my laptop at a coffee shop, using a VPN would be a good idea.
Definitely. Public Wi-Fi networks are often unsecured, which means your data is more vulnerable to snooping.
Right.
A VPN adds an extra layer of protection, encrypting your traffic and making it much harder for hackers to access your information.
Wow, it seems like cybersecurity is a constantly evolving landscape.
It is.
How can people stay informed and up to date on the latest threats?
That's a great question. Staying informed is key. You can follow reputable cybersecurity blogs and websites, subscribe to security newsletters, and listen to podcasts like this one. Of course, the more you know about the threats out there, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
Great advice. And don't be afraid to reach out to your IT department or a cybersecurity professional. If you have any questions or need help implementing these security measures, they're there to help you stay safe online. So, to sum it all up, vigilance, awareness, and proactive steps are the key ingredients in the recipe for online safety.
Absolutely.
It's not about being paranoid.
Right?
It's about being informed and taking sensible precautions to protect your digital life.
Well said. And remember, cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. We all have a role to play in protecting ourselves and each other from these evolving threats.
Mhm. So we've talked about the dangers of SecTopRat and how it can, sneak onto your computer.
Right.
But let's face it, not everyone is a tech whiz. What are some simple things people can do right now to make themselves less of a target?
You're absolutely right. Cybersecurity doesn't have to be complicated. One of the easiest and most effective things you can do is enable automatic updates for your operating system and all your software. DOpt is just the example, but it can be used in every...
So those processes that are always bugging me to update are actually important? Yeah.
They are. Think of updates like getting a flu shot for your computer.
Okay.
They patch up any known weaknesses that attackers could use to get in.
Makes sense. What about passwords? Everyone always says to use strong passwords, but who can remember a million different complicated ones?
That's where Password Manager comes in.
Okay.
It's like a digital vault for all your passwords. You only need to remember one master password to unlock the vault.
That sounds a lot easier than trying to remember a different password for every single website.
Yeah.
So a password manager generates and stores strong passwords for you.
Exactly. And most of them can even automatically fill in your login information for you so you don't even have to type it in.
Okay, so we've got updates and password managers. What else should people be doing to stay safe online?
Be wary of suspicious links and attachments. Don't click on links in emails or text messages from senders you don't know.
Okay.
And be cautious about downloading files from websites you don't trust.
It's like that old saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Exactly. And even if an email appears to be from someone you know, hover over or double check the sender's address to make sure it's legitimate. Attackers can easily spoof email addresses to make their messages look convincing.
So trust your gut, but also verify. Good advice. Anything else people should be aware of?
Be mindful of what you share online. Avoid posting sensitive information like your home address, phone number, place of work, family vacation, or financial details on public platforms. And be careful about what information you give out when filling out online forms. You never know who might be collecting that information for malicious purposes.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. It's easy to forget that everything you post online can potentially be seen by anyone. Speaking of things looking online, you mentioned earlier that SecTopRat can spread through compromised websites, right? How does that happen?
Think of a website like a house, okay? If the house has weak locks or open windows, a burglar could easily sneak in.
Right?
Websites can have vulnerabilities too, which are weaknesses in their code that attackers can exploit to gain control of the site.
So even if I'm being careful about what links I click, I could still end up on a compromised website without realizing it.
Unfortunately, that's possible, but there are ways to reduce the risk.
Okay.
Use a reputable web browser that has built-in security features like phishing and malware protection. Keep your browser updated. I know that browser updates are kind of the topic today, so consider using a browser extension that warns you about potentially dangerous websites.
That's good to know.
Exactly.
So we've got updates, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, being careful online, and using a reputable browser.
Right.
Well, this has been an eye-opener. We've talked about the threats, the risks, and most importantly, the steps we can take to protect ourselves.
Right.
But cybersecurity is a constantly evolving field. What are some resources people can use to stay informed and up to date on the latest threats?
That's a great question. As we mentioned earlier, and it is definitely worth repeating, staying informed is key to staying safe online. You can follow reputable cybersecurity blogs and websites, subscribe to security newsletters, and listen to podcasts like this one.
Shameless plug. I love it. But seriously, staying informed is so important.
It is.
The more you know about the threats out there, the better equipped you'll be to protect yourself.
Absolutely. And it is also worth repeating to not being afraid to reach out to your IT department or a cybersecurity professional. If you have any questions or need help implementing any of these security measures.
Great advice. So to sum it all up, vigilance, awareness, and proactive steps are the key ingredients in the recipe for online safety.
Yeah, and we all have a role to play in protecting ourselves and each other from these evolving threats.
That's a great point. We're all in this together and we can make a difference. Stay informed, be vigilant, be proactive.
Well said. And, it's not about living in fear of these threats. It's about giving ourselves the knowledge, the tools to protect our digital lives.
So, thank you for joining us on this podcast. We hope you found it helpful, informative, and even a little empowering.
Yes, and listeners, remember, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.